Okay everyone, Ryan Yule here with another quick motion tutorial. And today, let's get into the factors that make this program called motion. We have not animated yet, so let's start animating. So let's launch motion. And when we're in motion here, you should have a new 1080p 25 frames project, and go to your file browser. If it's not up, you can just hit Command 1 or Windows 1 on your keyboards in the lab. So bring up the file browser, or again, go up to Window here and go to File Browser, and go to your desktop, and on your desktop, you should be able to, and if I just make it so we're on the desktop here, on the desktop, go to your class folder, go to today's assignment, and take banner.psd and now drag it into your canvas and stop dragging. And then when you stop dragging, come on, we can go to import all layers. And now once again we have all our layers here in our project pane as well as our timing pane. And let's just go up and go fit so that we can see our full view of our entire canvas. And as you can see here, our object is really small. So the first thing let's do is let's scale this up so that it is as big as our canvas. So what we can do, of course, is we can just hold down the Alt key and hold down the Shift key and grab this corner here, and it will just make it like this. And I'm just going to move it slightly up here and do the same thing, Alt and Shift, so that it scales from the center and it scales proportionately. It doesn't squish or stretch. Okay, so there we go. So now if you ever want to deselect your object, because see how the bounding box here has it selected. If I just click anywhere on the canvas that's empty, or click here in the project pane that's empty, you can just see it will deselect it. And so now, let's start animating this. Let's start having some fun. So the first thing, if I just hit the space bar right now, you can see the playhead is moving, but of course, nothing's happening. Why is nothing happening? Well, we haven't applied any motion or animation. So let's do that. And let's do that really quickly with behaviors. So I'm just going to hit my playhead to stop again. So it's just going to stop. And I'm going to go to my library right here, and I'm going to go to behaviors. Now, behaviors are a way of assigning motion or properties or changes or animations. Basically, it's a way of very quickly getting things to start moving and animating in your projects. So for instance, let's say that I want to go in and I want to take this circle right here, and I want it to grow and shrink as the project moves along. So I'm going to go and highlight my circle right here, and then I'm going to go to behaviors, I'm going to go to basic motion, and I'm going to look at the grow and shrink. And as you can see, when I highlight something, grow and shrink, there's a little animation that plays up here with a little description. So this description says scales an object larger or smaller, continuously or to a specific value. So if I hit apply right now, what it's going to do is it's going to apply the grow shrink behavior to my circle because I have my circle highlighted. So if I hit apply, as you can see right here, here's grow shrink. And if I have grow shrink highlighted here and I hit F7, you can see that the HUD comes up, and that gives me some features. Now, of course, if I hit the space bar here, so if I select, just press on right here so that I've got my timing pane active, and if I hit spacebar, obviously nothing is happening. Well, why is nothing happening? Because we haven't set a value yet. So if I go right now and I start taking this and I start changing it like that, you can see that in the project right here, see how now the circle is growing. It is in fact growing, and maybe I want to now apply something else. So maybe I want to select, well, let's try fade in, fade out. So I'm going to select fade in, fade out here. And while it's still playing, I'm going to hit my circle and highlight my circle, fade in, fade out, and I'm going to hit apply. And now you can see it is fading in, and then it is going to fade out. And again, if I hit F7, I can now go and I can change, so my fade in, fade out behavior right here is being highlighted. I can go in and I can change, so it fades in for maybe longer here, and maybe it fades out very quickly. And if you watch the results, as the playhead moves, you can see it's fading in very slowly, and then it's fully in, and then it's going to fade out very quickly. So that is how behaviors can be applied to objects. Now for just fun, let's actually create our own object here. So we have a circle, and as you can see, if I move my playhead here, so if I click and drag it, I can move my playhead along here. And let's just say, I don't want it to be a circle, I want it to be maybe a different shape. Well, let's start getting into the toolbar, and this is the toolbar right along here. And there's lots of tools. We're not going to go over almost any of them today except for one, and that's this one right here, is the shape tool. Now, what I want to show you is, first of all, let's turn off our circle here. So in the layers, let's turn off the circle. And then, let's have our banner group highlighted. Now I'm going to click and hold, and as you can see here, there's a rectangle, there's a line. So let's choose, rectangle here. And I'm going to go in, now that I have, so I'm going to click, hold, choose rectangle. Now I'm going to go in here, and you can see there's crosshairs, and I'm just going to click and drag a rectangle. Now don't worry that it's on top, we're going to fix that, but I'm going to click and drag a rectangle. And there is my rectangle. Now, as you can see, my rectangle is at the very top here, so it's covering up my text. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take it and drag it so that it is underneath the text. And there you go, there's the rectangle. Now, the rectangle is white right now. Maybe we want to change the color. Well, if I highlight the rectangle and I go and I hit F7 for the HUD, you can see here's the fill, and then I can change the color to something else. So maybe change it to that. Or maybe we want to make it the same color as the other object. And remember, the other object was a circle. So right now, if I bring the circle back up for a second, you can see there it is. Now I'm going to highlight my rectangle like this. I'm going to bring up my HUD by pressing F7. I'm going to select fill, but instead of changing a color like this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit this little magnifying glass, and it brings up these little crosshairs. And I'm going to go to my circle and click, and you'll see now it's automatically selected that same color. So again, I'm going to go here, I'm going to click on this little magnifying glass and go to the color wheel here and click. And as you can see, it makes it the same color. So now I'm going to close my color wheel, I'm going to get rid of my HUD, and I'm going to get rid of the layer of the circle. And now here we click to enroll, is now a rectangle that's the same color, and we can start maybe applying other behaviors to it. Now, one thing we could do is I could actually take these two behaviors right here. So remember our circle, so let me just turn off the rectangle. When the circle is here, how it's growing and shrinking and fading in and fading out. Well, maybe I like these behaviors right here and I want to apply them to the rectangle. Well, all I have to do is highlight these. So highlight this one and hold down Shift, highlight this one, so now they're both selected. And then hold down Alt. So I'm holding down Alt and click and drag, and you'll see there's a little plus there, and when I let go, it actually copied these two behaviors to this new layer. So again, let me just try to show you again. So I'm going to highlight this one, hold down Shift, highlight this one, so now they're both highlighted. Hold down the Option or Alt key on your keyboards, and then while holding down the Option or Alt key on your keyboards, drag and let go on that, and it copies the behaviors right over. So now when I can just for now disable the circle layer. So now, and again, if I just highlight somewhere outside the canvas, you can see it is doing the same thing, growing and shrinking and fading in and fading out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go up here into Mark and RAM Preview and go All, and it's going to make a RAM Preview. And what a RAM Preview does is it goes in and it basically puts the information and the rendering into RAM so that the computer doesn't have to do it real time. So if I just select this, it's going to do RAM Preview. Now when I hit play, you can see that it's not as blurry anymore, but if you notice, our frames per second up here, we're only getting about 12, 11 frames per second, even though our project is set to 25. So what that means is we're actually not getting real-time playback. Now, one thing you can do if you're not getting real-time playback, because remember this is a 1080p project, is we can go up to here and go to render, and we can say half or quarter, quality draft. You can actually start, if we said like quality was half here, so now it's going to change the quality, and then if we hit the space, you can see now we're getting a higher frame rate. So it's just, one thing to keep in mind is that sometimes if you want to see a real-time preview of your animations, you might have to export them, which I'm going to show you in the next lesson. But sometimes you can just change the quality of the render to or the dynamic resolution or full resolution, a half. It just allows you to change what the computer is doing so that it allows you more control over if you want to see, the quality be high but the frame rate low, or if you want, the quality to be half or quarter of resolution, and then, if we change it to quarter, of course, now we're going to change our frame rate to pretty close to what it should be. So that's just a quick look at, animations and creating objects using the tool, the shape tool, and applying them to layers with behaviors, and just a real quick way to get your motion project actually animating. Now, what I want you to do for your assignment is I want you to take this PSD file here, and I want you to animate it. I want you to go in for the text, possibly, if you want. At the very bare minimum, I want you to do what I just did, which is create a rectangle, put the rectangle into the layer, and then make it grow, and then also make it fade in and fade out, just so I know that you are able to do the same thing that I've done. But if you want to be a bit more creative, if you want to go in and you want to start playing around with the logos and checking out some of these other behaviors, there's all kinds of behaviors here just in the basic motion one. You can even go in if you want and instead of behaviors, you can see there's shapes here. You can make things like 5-sided, 6-sided stars, arrows. So you can really start, between this shape tool here and under the library, these shapes here, and under the behaviors for basic motion here, you can really start to, make your 5-second animation really do something different and unique. So the assignment for today is to take this banner.psd, bring it into a project, change it like I have here, or even more. It's up to you if you want to get more creative. And then in the next lesson, I'm going to show you how you share that animation.